Welcome to Faded Front Pages, and today we're going to see if we can figure out Barney Fife's monthly budget. Now, we're not going to be able to use exact numbers on everything, but I think we have enough information to get close to what he brought home a month compared to his expenses. So let's get right into it. First, let's see if we can figure out Barney's paycheck. Now, we don't have a hard example of what Barney makes, but we do know, just like a lot of us, he thought it should be more.
See, you got your paycheck this month.
Yeah, I got it.
For what?
This check's made out to Barney Fife. It ought to be made out to Barney Sucker.
What?
Look at all these deductions and this tax. There's nothing left, for heaven's sake.
What we can find is this. In 1959, a deputy sheriff in Davie County, North Carolina, made $3,000 a year. And now Davie County is about an hour away from Mount Airy, Andy Griffith's hometown. So we're going to use Davie County and their contract from 1959 for their sheriff's department as our starting point for Barney's bring home pay.
Good old Barney. He makes it. He's got it. Let's take it.
Now, Barney.
Now, based on the tax year for 1961, Social Security tax was 3%. With a maximum taxable wage base of $4,800. This means Barney had around $90 a year deducted for Social Security. As far as federal income tax is concerned, if Barney took the standard deductions for that year and the standard personal exemption, his taxable income would have been $2,100. And that puts him in the lowest tax bracket and results in an estimated federal income tax responsibility of $420. And finally, for our purposes of getting a good estimate of how much money Barney brings home per month, we have to tack on state income tax also. And in North Carolina, instead of having a solid number for this one, we have a range of 3 to 7%. So we're going to use 5% and the state's local exemptions, personal exemptions, which will bring his state tax responsibility to right around $100. Now, taking all of this, we can make a pretty good guess that Barney's bring home pay for a year was $2,390, and that's just based on neighboring counties' pay for a deputy. That would have been about $199 a month in bring home. So we're going to round that up and say Barney brought home right around $200 a month. Now, let's see where that money goes. First, let's look at his housing. And we're going to see this is where Barney really gets a steal compared to today. Barney rents a room from Mrs. Mendelbright. Now, what does he pay?
From now on, I'm cutting your rent and raising your wattage. Rent is $5 a week, and you can use a 100-watt bulb.
Wow.
That's going to bring us around $260 a year, or $21.66 a month. And it seems that utilities are also included in his setup. But we're going to go ahead and round that one up to $22 a month to keep our math simple on it. Next, we're going to look at food. Barney has a hot plate in his room, so he cooks some, but it seems like he eats most of his meals out. He saves quite a bit of money eating with Andy and Aunt Bee and Opie for dinner, and Aunt Bee brings him and Andy lunch at the courthouse pretty often, but he also eats a lot of lunches at the diner. So let's say he eats lunch out 3 days a week, and let's see if we can get some lunch pricing.
How they do it for 80 cents?
I don't either, I'll tell you.
3 Vienna sausages, heavy on a tomato puree, slice of bread, and butter on a paper disc.
Don't forget the tip.
Did you leave a tip?
Well, yeah, a quarter.
I did too.
A quarter?
Yeah.
Well, Andy, didn't you see me put a quarter down?
And that brings us to just over $1 for a cheap lunch. And eating lunch in the diner could have cost him about $12 a month if we go with these numbers. Barney also got out cheap on dating and eating out, more expensive restaurants like Morelli's. He spent a lot of time watching TV at Thelma Lou's.
Every Tuesday night for as long as I can remember, we're sitting on that couch, a pan of cashew fudge between us, watching that doctor show on TV.
Just around.
Riding around or
Around in
parking.
circles?
Anywhere, the duck pond.
Why go to the duck pond at night? You won't be able to see the ducks.
With the occasional night out on the town with Thelma Lou, but he still managed to save some money. But let's say they go out for a night on the town a couple of nights a month, maybe dinner and a dance.
You know, you can hold it down to $1.85 out there if you don't have the shrimp cocktail.
You have a shrimp cocktail?
Well, no, I told Thelma Lou.
Given that he goes Dutch, that's another $9.70 a month. So we'll, with tips and local tax, we'll round that up to another $10 a month that he's spending on eating out with Thelma Lou. And then finally, for those times when he did need groceries, we'll think of a small grocery list for a month, given he does cook in his room some, but usually finds a way to save on groceries by eating with Andy and Aunt B, or Aunt B bringing Andy and him lunch at the courthouse. But let's imagine this list for a month. Maybe a pound of hamburger for 39 cents, a pound of sirloin for 99 cents, a pound of coffee for 65 cents, a bag of potatoes for 29 cents, beans for 35 cents, a pound of ham for 43 cents, and maybe some little pigs for 37 cents. So that would bring his monthly grocery bill to $3.47. But let's round up to $4 for taxes and some of the spices for his chili, some crackers, and some other things he may need. So we're going to say $4 a month for his grocery bill. Now, there's no car payment, though he did spend everything he had in the bank at one point, $300, on this one. So we've covered housing, food, including groceries, eating out, lunch, entertainment, dating, transportation, or Barney's lack thereof. Let's see where we are on his monthly budget. We started him out with $200 a month on bring home pay. And after rent, $22 came out. We were down to $178, and that's not too bad, utilities included. That's only 11% of his bring home, that $22 is. Now, if Barney had a mortgage, if he bought a house, and we put him in a house like the Scobies, who paid $52.50 a month for their mortgage, his percentage that he spent on that housing would go from 11% to a little over 26%. But he would also have utilities he'd have to pay for too. But even then, I think that this shows if Barney wanted to buy a house, he could have bought a house. Because when you look at his groceries and his food and even his dating and entertainment, he spent about $26 a month on lunch, dinners with Thelma Lou, dances, groceries, and all of that food and entertainment budget was just 13% of his bring home. So 24% of his bring home pay went towards housing and food and entertainment. And then for transportation, he didn't have any cost for transportation. So the rest of that money, almost 75% of his paycheck would be what my papa might call spending money. And that's a good amount. How does that stack up for where you live today? Let me know in the comments. And please don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. It really does help the channel. Thanks for watching.